Welcome to our presentation on CRC cards. My name is Heather Brune. I'm a junior software engineering major at BYU, Idaho.
I am Timothy Steele, and I am a senior in computer science at BYU, Idaho.
The history of CRC cards. CRC stands for Class Responsibilities and Collaborators. Ward Cunningham, a computer programmer also credited for developing the first wiki, created the concept of CRC cards after noticing a repetitive decision-making cycle. Cunningham would work side by side with his colleague Kent Beck. As they ran into development issues, Cunningham said, "We found repeatedly that our problems would yield when we could articulate the responsibilities of the objects we had made and the collaborations they would use to meet those responsibilities." Cunningham's first ever team development of CRC cards was with Brian Wilkerson, now the co-creator of responsibility-driven design. Cunningham says, CRC cards work by taking people through programming episodes or scenarios together. As cards are written for familiar objects, all participants pick up the same context and ready themselves for decision-making. Then, by waving cards and pointing fingers and statements like, "No, this guy should do that," decisions are made. Finally, the group starts to relax as consensus has been reached, and the issue becomes simply finding the right words to record a decision as a responsibility on a card. After our group's experience writing the SRS, the usefulness of getting everyone on the same page cannot be overstated. CRC cards seem to have been born of the need for unified decision-making and understanding. The top of each card is labeled with the name of that class. The left column contains the responsibilities or data of the class. The right column is to list the other classes this class works with. Each of the classes listed as collaborators in the right column should have a card of their own. CRC cards are a simple representation of the classes in an object-oriented system. They are a good way to get started on a new project. Scenarios, use cases, and role-playing can then be used to find new behavior and make sure it is listed as a responsibility on a card. The intent is rapidly sketching ideas for the design of some feature of an object-oriented system. 2 or more team members write down on index cards the names of classes involved in the feature. The cards are then fleshed out with lists of responsibilities of each class and the name of the collaborators. Here you can see I brought over 7 of the original CRC cards Ward Cunningham posted in an article on his website. I added red arrows to show the relationship of some of the cards to the others. You can see the collaborators on the right column correspond at the top to the class at the top of other cards. You can see 3 levels of this if you start at the red number 1 at figure, and then follow the arrow down to the card labeled figure at the top by the red number 2. With this card's collaborators is group figure, and if you follow down to the red number 3, you'll see that. Finally, if you follow the arrow to the right, you'll find the red number 4 at the card titled group figure. Hopefully this helps you understand the flow of CRC cards.
Heather and I considered the Hack app, especially considering the requirements in the SRS document, and considered how this could be designed or implemented using CRC cards. The first class we considered was the assignment class. It was helpful as we approached this process to consider a specific scenario. So we considered a student who had come home from class on a Monday and was looking at the assignments that were due and the upcoming assignments due, and deciding which assignment to do next. So we started with the assignment class. We created an assignment and added some responsibilities for the basic information like due date, title, and instructions. We knew that this information would come from the LMS, the Learning Management System. So on the right side of this assignment card, you can see the LMS class listed. There's other information such as information regarding discussion board status, group status. There was also there will also be the ability for a user to add information such as the priority or a task or note. And so we have task and note listed as a collaborator. If you look at this task class, we have a due date and content, and it also collaborates with the assignment class. One thing that was helpful in this process was we were able to hash out what a task was able to do independent of the assignment. For example, a student may have come home from that class on a Monday and known that the teacher assigned a class that wasn't in the learning management system, and so the user may have added a note to that task, which made it independent from an assignment. We have other classes that the assignment collaborated with, like a course, and a course could collaborate with an instructor. And going through this process helped us to flesh out these relationships and to create a common understanding of how the functionality described in the SRS would be divided. There are some potential downsides to using this method. CRC cards lack some level of detail and precision. They are not the place for sequential information regarding what order things will be done in. No procedural information or other highly technical information can be done. Also, there's no place to describe exactly how the class will work because domain expert involvement may be required, management support may be required. However, this method does have many benefits. It is very effective at bringing together an entire development team and helping them to develop a common understanding of the system. This happens because they're able to communicate with each other in a small dynamic team and establish that understanding. Also, the card system allows for grouping and testing out different relationships between classes. This means also CRC cards don't have to be complete to have value. They are very good for the early stages of design where you are trying to establish the relationships between aspects of the system.
Class responsibility and collaborator cards review. CRC cards are a simple representation of the classes in an object-oriented system. The CRC card describes what a class is good for, which the class diagram doesn't. That's what they are, but why should you use them? You can use CRC cards as a stepping stone in the early stages of developing your class architecture. And when should you use them? If you're thinking about what classes there could be and don't want to worry about relationships, methods, or attributes yet, CRC cards offer a less final method that leaves you freedom for designing details later.